And welcome to another episode of a girl, a guy, and a movie. My name is Bruce, and this is episode 21 of our movie reviews with Janet from Another Planet, myself. And tonight's movie is 1994 classic True Lies, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, Art Malik, Tia Carrera, Eliza Dushku, Grant Heslov, Charlton Heston in one of his final roles, and Bill Paxton and Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
Janet.
Yes.
Did you see this movie in theaters?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I saw it in the theater the first time. And I remember everybody laughing.
See, when I saw this for the first time, I was out at sea. We just stopped in Les Azores, and we were headed to the east to Portsmouth. And they had mail call for us, and they had other stuff, and this was in the other stuff. So the captain had them pop some popcorn for the people that weren't on duty, and they got a chance to watch this film. And I was on duty, so I didn't get a chance to see it until about a day later. And a friend of mine on ship was like, "That movie is so great. You need to see this." So when we finally got a chance to watch it in its entirety, that was probably one of my favorite movies at that moment, because we had just about 4 months before that we had The Crow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got some people popping in the chat there. We got Shadow and Sun, Wolfton Media. Hello there, sir. How you doing today? And we have some other people on the other servers. Appreciate you guys showing up today in the chat. I thought about this movie, and it goes in my 1994 box pretty nicely. But whenever I was discussing this with you, we had made a brief mention of it like a month ago, and you were talking really highly about it. What is the one thing about this movie that you take away?
I wish I thought about that part of it.
It's all right if you didn't, but
I just thought it was very, very entertaining. And the one thing I was amazed when I left, I think I already told you, was that that it was the only movie I ever saw that Tom Arnold was good in.
that's the second thing we could talk about is Tom Arnold was actually.
That was one of the things I took away from the movie.
Usually he takes away from a film. He actually added to this movie.
I thought he did too. I thought he was phenomenal as his right-hand man, basically, to help him through things. I thought he was great. I mean, this was one of the very best movies I've ever seen with Tom Arnold in it.
Yeah, I don't know what else he was in. I can't recall off the top of my head. I've got the link. I could go click on it right now and find out what did he do. But I'm not that interested, because I've seen his other work, and not all of it, but most of it really wasn't that great.
No, I mean, hold on. I got a paper here. Okay, here it is. I printed out a thing, and it says, I thought the only reason he probably got this movie was because he was married to Roseanne Barr, and they got divorced after this movie came out, apparently, I guess. But so I'm pretty sure he got the part because of her, and maybe because he was married to her, and he had been on that show with her, for a while. And I think he did a couple other TV shows or something. I'm not exactly for sure, but I just couldn't believe that he could act. I mean, I was surprised, and he was believable. But I think the reason he was so believable is because that's who he really is. The person that you saw ad-libbing and stuff in this movie, I think he did a lot of ad-libbing. It was because that's really him. That type of character, like when he's talking about, he's been divorced more than once, and a second time his wife took the ice trays out of the refrigerator. What kind of sick bitch takes the ice trays? That it just seemed very realistic. So I think that's why this part was so good for him, because I think it played off of him. But I really do think he got this part simply because he was married to Roseanne Barr. So he was pushed up there a little bit. But I read this part. It said that Tom Arnold he met Roseanne Barr when she saw his act in 1983, and their relationship was complicated by his alcoholism and drug addiction. So I didn't even know that he had had a drug or alcohol problem. And then, but he eventually became sober, is what it says. But the two married in 1990, and they divorced in 1994. And then in an interview with Bob Kushnell or something, it said that he told them that when he got divorced, he didn't take any alimony from Roseanne Barr. So that was one of the little tidbits that I dug up, because I was I hate to say it, but I was really impressed by what a great job um, Tom Arnold did, you know, for his character as
I,
Albert.
I will say I made an error. There's another movie he did that is notable but not worth watching. McHale's Navy. He was in that. He was in that with Dean Stockwell, Ernest Borgnine, and Deborah Messing. But that was in '97, and the rest of his material he's done is really lackluster. I wish I could say like he just faded. No, he kept earning in check. He has a very good string of 5s and 4s out of 10s on IMDb. That's what I can say. But we
Well, I had to have seen him in something else, because how could I have known he did a good job in this? I hadn't seen him in something else. So I think I might have seen him on the show that Roseanne Barr was on. I can't remember the name of that show either right this minute, but she was really, really funny. I mean, for herself. So she must have thought he was pretty funny if she was impressed by him enough to want to go out with him on a date.
yeah, he's a
Somebody
nice.
said something about somebody being trans.
Yeah,
Who's that?
Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, has a daughter that's transphobic or trans. She went
Transgender.
from girl to guy.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I know that one of the sister or one of the brothers from Rosanna Arquette's brother, Alexis or whatever, is trans, became a woman. So there was, quite a few. But that was before, everybody was crazy about transgenders. That was, years before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I don't
Oh, she started talking. I forget about turning her off.
know that.
Darn it. Hold on, I'll turn her off.
It's okay.
Okay.
Now,
Sorry about that.
just some quick notes off of IMDb or off of Wikipedia, real quick. It was executive produced by Lawrence Kasanoff and directed and written by James Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
After the good studded stars that I mentioned earlier, it's based on the 1991 French comedy La Totale. The film follows U.S. government agent Harry Tasker, Schwarzenegger, who struggles to balance his double life as a spy with his familial duties. It was the first Lightstorm Entertainment project to be distributed under Cameron's multi-million-dollar production deal with 20th Century Fox, as well as the first major production for the visual effects company Digital Domain, which is co-founded by Cameron. It was the first film to cost $100 million. This is 3 years after the release of Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And he was riding high. He'd been going really good at this point, and he turns this out with his own company on a 1-2 punch. Now, for her performance, Jamie Lee Curtis won a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress for a motion picture, musical, or comedy, and the Saturn Award for Best Actress, while Cameron won Saturn Award for Best Director. The film ultimately grossed $378 million worldwide at the box office, becoming the third highest grossing film of 1994 behind The Lion King and Forrest Gump. It was also nominated at the Academy Awards and BAFTA in the Best Visual Effects category, and also for 7 Saturn Awards. I was unaware of that. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I didn't realize this was his James Cameron's first foray with Lightstorm Entertainment. I thought he had other things, but I usually I don't try to follow a lot of directors that much. I guess now I'm starting to do that more often. CCDV says I have to admit I preferred Sergeant Bilko over Mikhail Saving. It came out at the same time. Wolfton Media starts quoting all the car salesman lines.
Well, another thing that I found out, I'm not trying to say, anything bad about the movie, but it said that the actress that played Dana,
Mm-hmm.
Eliza Dushku, I guess. Yeah. It said that she stated that while filming this movie when she was 12, that she was sexually molested by the film's stunt coordinator, Joel Kramer.
Yep.
And so I just thought that was pretty creepy. But I don't remember anything about that. Reading about it until I read it, looking into this.
That got swept under the rug until years later. One of those things got revealed when Natalie Portman starts pushing the Me Too stuff. Hello, Vanessa Vaughn.
But I think Tom Arnold definitely had. I wrote down a bunch of my favorite lines from the movie, and Tom Arnold definitely had more of the best lines. The ones that made you remember them. Those 10 lines than anybody else. So I thought it was some of them were really good.
Yeah, the movie kind of opens up in a weird spot because it opens in media res, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is swimming into somewhere with scuba gear on, and he's doing underwater welding to cut an entry access into a secure location. He gets in there and he's getting himself ready, and then you'll see the Gib and I forget the other guy. Gib and his co-worker, Faisal, played by Grant Heslov. Grant is taking a wee outside the van. And once he gets finished, he gets back in the van, and Tom Arnold says, "Were you born in a barn?" And that struck me funny for the past 28 years.
Yeah.
And it goes on this kind of realistic comedy shtick throughout the whole movie, and that Tom Arnold does so much with his words. A lot of it's probably all ADR, but a lot of it is probably him ad-libbing. And says Mrs. Dushku also cracked 3 ribs while she was doing the stunts on the Harrier, which I don't doubt.
Yeah, that was a part of the thing that it said that that was after the part that I was reading earlier about the actress when she had told an adult friend that confronted Kramer on the set, and that same day that girl was injured on the stunt. Several of her ribs were broken while Kramer was responsible for her safety, and he said he denied any accusations of misconduct. So but that was interesting that she got hurt the day that she supposedly told someone, and they confronted him. So I don't know. That's interesting.
It sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on in set with that stunt coordinator.
Yeah. Wonder if he got any jobs after this.
What was his name?
His name is Joel, Joel Kramer with a K.
All right. All right. There's Joel Kramer. Stunt coordinator. Oh, he looks like a D-bag. Hold on. I'll share this.
Yeah, I can't.
All right.
But was he very much after
He's
he
had
was
a
in this?
few pieces afterwards. Okay. When it happened right here in 94.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, he did stunts for a lot of movies, including Heat, Eraser, Con Air, Batman and Robin. Uh, he's a stunt double for Schwarzenegger. He must be a pretty big guy. 3,000 Miles of Graceland.
Oh, so he was in quite a few bit of things afterward, but it doesn't say that he was ever convicted. It just says that she accused him of it.
Yeah. The last
So
thing he did was Jean-Claude Van Johnson, and that was it. I don't think he's done much since 17 when all this came out.
yeah.
The last thing he worked on was Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Well, if he didn't get charged with it, I mean, it's just an accusation still, so we can't really say, this, that, or the other about it because we don't know, for sure.
Yeah. He did After Trek, 17, and yeah. Guy's pretty much a dirtbag.
Well, it sucks that there has to be those kind of people anywhere, but unless we can prosecute these people, and not much is going to change.
No, it won't. It has to be addressed.
I was going to ask you to look up if you worked on any movies with that other guy, that Epstein or whatever his name was.
A lot of the movies that are on this right here,
Uh-huh.
I want to say Epstein was involved with Westworld. For some odd reason, I'm thinking Epstein was involved with that.
So I was just thinking, ugh, creepy.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if they had each other's phone numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably did. If they probably traveled in the same circles, hung out with the same people, if they're into that junk.
Yeah. Anyway, Elijah Dushku had a pretty impressive career. Hey, Multi-Gun Man, how you doing?
But the opening scene where they were in the van and Arnold Schwarzenegger ends up with a tux, and he goes into that place to meet to find out if he can find out any information about supposedly those missiles that were stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what they were there for. But I just thought it was funny when he's like, I'm in, or whatever, and the young kid, whatever his name was, Ofer Samara, or whatever his name was, Youssef or something, that actor.
You're talking about Faison?
The young guy that was on the team with them, the third team. Okay.
Yeah, Faisal, my bad.
Okay.
He was played by Grant Heslov.
Yeah. Well, on here, his name wasn't Yusuf.
No.
What was his name again?
Grant Heslov. Here we go.
Okay. All right. I don't know why I was thinking something else, but his line in the van when he says, I have my hand up her dress and I'm going for it.
Yes.
I just thought,
you the fuck up and get the damn file.
I just thought that was so cute because he looked like he was 12,
Yeah.
Compared to the other two guys, he looked like a little boy. And I don't know. I just thought it was adorable when he said that line. I just thought it was adorable. And then Arnold, not Tom Arnold, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Tom Arnold said, Harry, seconds count, ditch the bitch. So, I just thought some of their lines were just really funny. They took away from the tense. So you had a tense situation with Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, but in the van you had them two making those like I don't know. I just you could tell they were like acting. They were like best friends or something. It was just funny to me.
Yeah,
Definitely comic relief. His part, he did really really good at it.
I,
And
I
then when uh, she's kind of like taken by him, the art dealer. What was her name? Juno
yes,
Skinner. She's like kind of taken back by Harry's, what he's because he's tall and handsome and he's dressed nice and he's supposedly knows what he's talking about when he's talking about the Persian artifacts or whatever. And then Tom Arnold makes a comment. He says, the son of a bitch is with her for 2 minutes and she's ready to bear his children. Just stuff like that is what really made me think. I just really liked it. I thought it was perfect lines for Tom Arnold's character in this movie. I just thought they just gave him the writers gave him some really good stuff to work with to help him portray the character he was supposed to be, which I thought he did really, really good.
The movie succeeds on because of the script. I really think the script helps out, and the way that they interact, the way the team interacts, Faisal and Gibb, I think those two are just probably the backbone of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the banter between the two of them kind of brings it home quite a bit. And anybody who's ever done any sort of stakeout, or if you've ever had to have a partner in a job, if you were a badge individual, the kind of things that these two guys are talking about, that they summed it up very nicely. Whoever wrote the script was really smart. That's all I can really say. When I did an internship at the PD, I had to sit in a cop car for 12 hours and listen to these two cops talk the entire time while we're watching a building. And it was the most mind-numbing shit in the world. But listening to these two guys talk about everything else going on in their lives made it somewhat bearable. Except for the fact that, like, man, I really have to pee. Bruce, open up the door, creep in those bushes on your knees, and pee. Do not stand up. Do not draw attention to yourself. One of the reasons why I'm not a cop. Anyway, because the moment you go on a
all of
situation,
that
you have
to
pee.
me seemed they did a really good job as I was watching it, in now times compared to when it came out. I thought they did a really good job of showing the inside workings of what these agents and stuff do and the kind of equipment they have and the protocols and stuff. To me, it was still, even though the years later, it was very believable. You know,
Mhm.
like when they're going into the office the next morning, after they get back before they're going to get reamed by their boss, which was Charlton Heston, and they go in, and that was one of the things that I was really shocked because I was wanting to know if anybody in the um, shit in the chat noticed in the scene when they walked in what organization they were working for because it
Yeah,
was on
Omega Sector.
yeah, it was on the tile, and I was like, "Wow!" That didn't even sink in from before, and a couple other times I've already watched it. But when I saw it, it brought back a scene in my head from the movie with about the aliens, and it was Will Smith was in it. Remember that one?
Men in Black.
Yeah, that's what popped in my head when I saw that. I was like, "Is this the same place? They filmed this in the same place?" Because it looked a lot like the tunnel and the elevator they went in.
Mhm.
All that I had like deja vu or something when I saw that one scene. But that whole scene where they're getting X-rayed and all that, and she puts her hand on the gun under the desk and everything. Just the detail in that I thought was really, really believable to me.
I thought that part there when they're walking in and Arnold Schwarzenegger's trying to be friendly. "Hello, Janice," and she says nothing, but just puts her hand under the desk and gets her gets her bang finger ready. That's the that was the when I was a young kid, that was a really important part. The part about it I don't like now is that she has poor trigger discipline. And throughout the entire movie, I'm just going to say that I can't watch people play with guns in this film because they have poor trigger discipline.
Yeah.
They always slip that finger in the index. They always throw that index finger on the trigger area, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking they're gonna have a fucking negligent discharge. And I'm watching this shit yesterday. I'm like, why did I never think of this throughout the entire film? But I mean, it
I
was a
still
good
see it
movie.
in almost every movie that has a gun in. I still see it.
Yeah,
So it's just because you could tell the people, well, me and you, because we have handled weapons. It's people who haven't handled weapons aren't going to notice that at all, aren't going to pay attention to that. See, that's the difference. It's
yeah.
sad, isn't it? When you get trained to do certain things and then it ruins it for other things because you start noticing how other people aren't trained.
That's the only negative about this movie that I have. That's the only thing that drags it down to a nine. Is that throughout the entire film, poor trigger discipline starts with Arnold in the snowbank because he's doing some things with the skiers at the time, and I'm like, no, don't slip your finger in there, not yet. You're not ready to pull the trigger. Stop that, Arnold. And the when she yeah, Wolf's is like, I saw her reach for that gun. They have really good detail. The problem I had was that it looked like her trigger discipline. It looks like her finger goes right to snug up against the trigger, like she's ready to pull it. She's
Yeah,
committing
and
to blow them
but see,
away
that was
right
one of
now.
the things that I liked about it is because that's what made it realistic to me, was the fact that even though they sounded like the guys, the X-rays might have looked like the same guys, she was ready to, stop them in a second if they weren't the
Yes,
right guys,
and
and
I did like that.
if their eyeballs didn't match when they did the retinal scan, she was ready to take them out, and that's her job, you know? So, I don't know. I just thought it was really, I thought it was real impressive. I thought that opening part when they're going into the building because they're so high in the food chain when it comes to agents or whatever that they got to be strict and make sure nobody's trying to get in and get information. So the scene coming up later on with his wife, with Jamie Lee Curtis and Simon, that whole thing, it when they call him a spook and all this different stuff because of all the stuff, that's why all of that clicked together so well to me, because they from the very beginning, seeing him in a action, actually doing something uh, to as a secret agent type thing, like James Bond or whatever, any of these other spy movies that that we've watched, opening it that way. So we got to see them working as a team and then get to see him going to work, So I don't know. I just thought they did a great job at showing the audience what the details behind what was going on and what these three people were doing for their job. I just thought that was really good because they didn't have to do any detail at all if they didn't want to. And I've seen plenty of movies where they didn't. So I just really enjoyed that part of it.
Um, that was one of Charlton Heston's last roles, if I remember right, because it wasn't what 97 or 99 that he passed.
Yeah, Tombstone, didn't it come out around the same time as this one? I can't remember.
No, that was 93.
Oh, okay, so it was earlier
Was
because he was in that one too. I was surprised. I forgot about him being in this movie. But I still thought he was funny because I do have one of his lines that I thought was really good. I wrote down. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to talk about it because before they went to the office, he picked him up at his house, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
correct.
And the scene where plus the scene where he was being going to be attacked by the two Dobermans when he was about to leave, and him conveniently being able to slam their heads together. and then have the two dogs fall down on the ground. I just don't think they'd be allowed to do that anymore in today's movies.
Yeah, that is one of the few movies where you actually see like an actual violent act go against dogs.
Yeah.
Oh wow, he lived to 2008. I wasn't even aware of that. My bad. He still had about 20 more, no, about 25 to 30 movie credits after that, but they weren't really big roles. He was working with the gun lobby in the latter 90s, and then he just kind of steps down and gets away from everything after that.
Well, I'm sure he, deserved to have some, quality time with his family and stuff, you know, in a real type of retirement. He definitely had earned it.
Yeah, he did. He lived to the age of 84 in 2008, and I wasn't even aware he was that old. I just, when you see him in the movie, it's like, oh my God, that's Charlton Heston.
Yeah, how old was he in this movie? Do you know? Because I thought he looked really good.
He was
He had
around
that eye
70 or
patch, he looked
69
all
during filming.
mean.
He was
He had,
about 69 or 70 during the filming of this film.
because he had that Nick Fury look to him. I thought he was freaking cool.
Yeah.
So, and when he tells him, he said, "Well, you get screwed the pooch on this one." I thought that was funny. Let me find that. Yeah, Omega Sector. I wrote that down. He goes, "Jesus, Harry, you really screwed the pooch last night." I thought it was great. It was and coming from Charlton Heston, what made it just like, phenomenal, because you just, I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to see stuff like that anymore with some of our big actors. I mean, do we have any big actors left? I mean,
Yes.
any up and coming actors that's going to be in movies as long as some of these icons, like Charlton Heston and stuff. I don't know. I just thought that scene was really, really good. They gave him a really good line.
He does two scenes in the movie where they're at the Omega Sector. He does the one when they return back from Switzerland, and then he has the scene after the night where they have the chase, and I want to talk to you about that.
Okay, yeah.
They after they get back, they do their daily work, but Gib notices, hey, we got a tail, and so we'll pull in here, and there's that fight in the bathroom.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a really good fight. I mean, Schwarzenegger doesn't do really good hand-to-hand combat scenes. He's a real big guy. He doesn't throw convincing punches. He's not a trained boxer like Stallone, but that's probably the best fight choreography I've ever seen him do. I don't really have it in my head where there's a better fight scene that he's in. He has that fight with the big Persian in the bathroom, and then here comes Art Malik with his submachine gun, and he just riddles the entire place with bullets. You feel sorry for the old man on the toilet. You really do. That poor man gets disturbed more times in that scene.
Yeah, I was laughing my rear off when the scene where they bust through the door and Arnold Schwartz is laying there on the ground, with the other guy on top of him, looking up, seeing that guy with his pants around his ankles.
Yeah,
I forgot about it. I mean, it was hilarious, and I forgot all about that one scene, and I just thought it was hilarious. And you get to laugh in between rooting for him to kick their ass. So that was a great fight in the bathroom, especially when he takes his head and he puts it in the urinal at the end. Cool off. What he said to him, I thought was really good. But the scene that I forgot to talk about was when he had caught his daughter taking money out of Tom Arnold's jacket.
Yep.
because of the glasses, and he's trying to get the money back from her. He runs out and he's yelling, "Dana, Dana," to her, and she takes off. She comes back in and they're getting ready to get in the car to leave, and he's all, "I didn't raise my daughter like that." And he goes, "Kids, 10 seconds of joy and 30 years of misery."
Yeah.
So Tom Arnold's line for it. I just thought he was just funny. So, it was just so many. I just can't even remember. There was just so many good lines. You know,
This movie is
very
right
entertaining.
with good lines.
Hmm.
This movie has so many good lines in it, and it's really weird how, like, if we look in the chat, like, we have people quoting the movie. Like, this is an iconic film. I didn't realize that this movie got people this jazzed up, and they're quoting the film right there. Like, that's awesome. Um, the fact that Dana, when she comes in the room with her helmet on, Tom Arnold or Gibbs, like, I remember the first time I was shot out of a helmet. It's like,
Yeah, I was shot out of a cannon.
yeah, I was.
That's what it looks like because the way she's standing there. But the thing is that she did a great job too at playing the typical teenager that doesn't care about anything at all in life except for herself.
Yes,
So that's where she was. She was definitely good. I mean, even with her mom, by letting her dog lick the icing.
looks icing off the
Um,
bowl
yeah,
and the
while
spoon.
while she was icing the cake and she holds it up and the dog's licking it, and then she starts icing the cake again. Her mom said, "That's disgusting, Dana." That's what she
Maybe
said to her. But I thought it was funny. But yeah, she did a good job playing a typical teenager.
she really did. She really owned up in her acting chops with this film. There was another movie she was in about the same time, but this movie really propelled her to a lot of people's radar, and she's been ever since then. She's been one of the Joss Whedon click people. Whenever Joss Whedon does something, he usually will tap her for a project. Um, Apparently, there was a relationship going on there too, but it looks like, for a while there, she was one of the girls that he used over and over again for various projects, from Buffy to Dollhouse and things like that. She is a good actor, and I think recently she got married and started doing some constructive things in life. She's a mother. She's a stepmom to like 4 kids,
Hmm.
and she's doing things that probably she wasn't aware that she was going to be doing as an adult. She also, from what I read, it looks like she does some work with people that have addictions, which is,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, she's really putting her gray matter to good use, and seems
This
like a
but
really
this wasn't
outstanding.
her first movie, was it?
Say, it was the first movie I remember seeing her in, but it wasn't her first role. I know that much.
Well, they did a good job at picking her to be their daughter between the two, big name actors,
Mhm.
and and Jamie Lee Curtis playing a mousy secretary she did so good because she is so pretty and she can make herself look so, hot and be so sexy and very flamboyant and out there, and compared to what she was like at the dinner table each night, when they were sitting at, it was so boring and humdrum and dull. It was the life that nobody wants, that kind of life. And when Harry would come home, he loved it because every day at work he's, risking his life and doing all this stuff. So when he come home, he was just so happy to be in this humdrum, no action, no nothing. It was just, terrible, boring life. And the wife is sitting there each night going, what am I in? How am I going to live this life? I'm so bored. I hate my conditions. So everything was to the maximum to achieve the goal of it, where they were going for the character arcs for each of the characters. I just thought I was just really impressed with Arnold Schwarzenegger being able to play this character as a husband that really loves his wife, but when he finds out later on that he thinks she's cheating on him, the way he dealt with it and everything. I mean, just I was shocked that he really could act. Him. You're used to seeing him act, and I'm not saying he's not a good actor, but I mean, as a character fighting action, like a Rambo type character, we're used to seeing him do that. But to see him actually portray with facial expressions and you know hands-on contact with other characters in a mellow trying to put this in words, to see him as a normal person living a normal everyday humdrum life, sitting at the table talking about what they did during their day, and that kind of thing. It was nice to see that, because that I think that's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, because I got to see a total different side of Arnold Schwarzenegger in this
Usually
movie.
he just played a wind-up character in, and I hate to say that, but in Commando and Predator and
Mhm.
there's really, I mean, he does some acting in Predator, but in Commando and Raw Deal and Conan the Destroyer, a lot of the '80s films he was in, he was just a wind-up character that he'd say, "Tell me which props to use, well, and I will make the bad guys look like cow," and that's about it. He would get
Yeah.
he
I
would
mean,
just
I didn't even I mean, I knew he had the accent a lot in this movie too, but for some reason it wasn't as prominent in this character as it is in some of his other movies. So I was really impressed. I thought he did a really good job at this portraying this person in
yeah.
this movie. So I just
He's more
thought
humane
all
in
the
that.
actors did very good jobs, in
This
this
is a
movie.
James Cameron movie, and so
Mhm.
I would expect James Cameron probably, did have some things going on the side for Arnold. Like, hey, we're going to do more vocal therapy for you because your Australianness comes out a lot,
Yeah.
and I could see that because in Terminator 2, he doesn't really have the accent nearly as bad, but in Terminator 3, it sounds like it comes back a bit. I don't know why.
Well, I bet it has a lot to do with how much time he has to prepare for the role and how much time each day he has before the scene to prepare. You know what I mean? If it's rushed or, just different things like that. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I think a lot of that stuff has to do with how well you do when you're on set working, is how much sleep did you get, where you are in your life. And I think in this time in his life too, he was very happy with himself,
Yeah, I mean everything was
where he
working out between
was.
him and
So he was able to concentrate and relax and just flow with the characters that he was offered in the movies he was in. So, I
he
think
had
a
a
lot of
good
that has to do with
marriage.
that too. Do what?
He had a good marriage at the time in '94. Maria Shriver is doing well with him, and I think it wasn't until the 2000s that he starts doing the infidelity with the maid really hard. I mean,
Yeah.
he's still kind of exploring his options on things, but he's sinking nothing but net. I mean, he does the pumping iron stuff in like '70s, becomes international sensation, gets really actually wins a contest because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, because the Lee Haney was a better built individual, but they were like, we got to give this to Arnold because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so they give that to him. I think in 1979. Then he starts doing movies, and he does, Hercules in New York, which is terrible, but not long after he's in Pumping Iron with, I want to say Jane Fonda, and he's making her, they ask him to drop 20 pounds so she doesn't look so dwarfed by him. And then he does Conan the Barbarian, and his career just skyrockets after that.
Yeah.
And it turns into this fairy tale. And I mean, if you were alive during this time, you can remember this because Schwarzenegger comes out, and any movie he attaches his name to, it becomes a box office success. Even Raw Deal, which is one of the worst movies ever made, everybody went to go see it, or people have it on beta or VHS in their homes,
Mhm.
and they know the movie backwards and forwards, which is really not a like I said,
Yeah,
it's
you
not a
can
good
just
movie.
look at Arnold Schwarzenegger from his acting in Conan the Barbarian and then in this movie,
Yeah,
how much he grew
he
as an
really.
actor, uh, his skills, how much you could tell he spent lots and lots of time in his life trying to be the best that he could be. I mean, and he had discipline. I mean, it takes discipline to be a weightlifter, to learn the sword skills and all the different things that he did for all the other stuff that he did in his other movies. You could tell he wanted to achieve the best that he could with what he had. And I think that his accent was one of the hardest things that he had to do, but he did work on it. And you could tell because it comes across in the movies he's in. So,
the the hotel scene is pretty interesting because Tom Arnold gets shot at and doesn't seem to catch any bullets. The light post he stands in right behind that catches like 7 or 8 of them.
oh, that was a good scene too.
And then Salim goes into the hotel, gets chased by Arnold on a horse, and this is because Arnold pretty much fired back at him in the bathroom. Uh, Anybody here, if you're in a bad situation to where there's somebody that's using excessive amounts of force on you, I'm going to give you a piece of advice: reply back in kind, and more than likely, you're going to be able to come out of that situation at least somewhat healthy. Schwarzenegger was pretty much going to get riddled with submachine gun bullets in a bathroom. He grabs a pistol and barked back 2 times with him on that, and that was what changed the guy's mind, and he started fleeing from the situation. That caused a pursuit to start up, which caused the hotel scene to happen. I mean, one of my favorite parts is when the band is trying to get ready to start playing, and they get interrupted first by the motorcycle, and then the horse goes by, and that kind of killed that vibe for about 3 to 5 minutes probably. But then at the rooftop, Salim takes a motorcycle and he jumps from one hotel rooftop to the one across the street, which I thought was okay. That looks mostly convincing. James Cameron spends a lot of money on crane work, so these guys don't get hurt. They don't fall off roofs. They don't fall off motorcycles at 200 feet up. He does his work as a director. I'll just say that because I've watched a lot of James Cameron's movie making magic, and the first thing they always do to first off they get safety down correctly, and they start to work on that. Even the scene with the helicopter in Terminator 2 when it goes under an overpass, they made sure they had absolutely no vehicles on the road. They blocked off traffic. Then they did that shot with a Vietnam veteran helicopter pilot that dives it underneath a 4-lane bridge, and that helicopter scene is just amazing.
Yeah, I thought the Harrier planes, everything in it, all that stuff was phenomenal, and you could definitely tell that everybody seemed to know exactly what they were doing in the movie
Yeah,
when it came to
behind the
when it
scenes,
came to all those things.
this movie employed like 700 people, and probably 50 of them were dedicated to human resources and safety. And I mean, I know it doesn't, do Elijah Dushku that much good, but she, in 2017, it looks like she stopped doing a lot of acting and she's been doing her own self. But there's a lot of things that happen in this film that they had to make sure whenever they shot it, it would come out looking great on film. The hotel scenes with the motorcycle and then with the horse, I thought the horse was pretty impressive, and the fact that they were actually able to get the horse to not do what it was supposed to, which was jump across.
Well,
And
I
the
can
way
tell
it
you
was,
right now, if the horse saw what we saw, there's no way that horse would jump it.
well,
Because I had a horse, and that's one of the things I remember when I saw the movie for the first time. I was like that. What are they think that? What are they doing? I just thought that was terrible,
you can
and I
tell
knew that horse
Schwarzenegger
would
doesn't
jump.
have a horse.
Do what?
You could tell that Harry Tasker doesn't have a horse. He's not
Yeah.
used to horses,
Uh huh.
and And
Sure.
people that have been around them before, they're like, that horse would not get that close to the roof. Maybe, maybe not. But
No,
whenever
they
he
would.
ran it,
They'd get close. I've seen them,
okay,
next to cliffs, the edges of the river, different things like that. But the thing is that, and they can stop on a dime. So that whole scene, I've been thrown off the horse over the front, believe me, onto a barbed wire fence, and it is not a good thing. But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
no, I
I'm
know, but
sorry.
I hung there too. My sister laughed at me when I was hanging there, but they can stop on a dime. So that whole scene was very believable. Even when it backs up and pulls them up, on the reins, and horses are very strong too. So him being a big guy, because I remember people telling me, oh, that wouldn't happen. That horse couldn't hold him up. I'm like, what? You're not very smart. You don't know horses. That's a very strong horse. And that was a big horse because it's uh, one of the horses that looks like the ones that they'd use in New York. And yeah, I just thought it was a phenomenal scene. I really liked it, but it did the thought of thinking that horse is just going to jump like a motorcycle into a
No, no,
I,
it's not.
that scared me really bad. But I remember my adrenaline pumping in that scene the very first time I got to watch it, and I was so thankful that the horse didn't get hurt or whatever. But maybe a lot of people really would think that the horse would jump, but a horse, you got to have a special trained horse to jump in certain areas. But I mean, you can't even hardly get a horse to go over railroad tracks because horses have four feet, and when they're walking and running, they don't walk on certain bridges and things if there's a gap or they see the gaps because they're afraid their hooves are going to get hooked in there or break one of their feet. So they're very smart too. Horses are very smart. So you have to have a specially trained horse to be able to do certain things like that. But just a normal horse like this one was supposed to be would not would not have done it. To get it to go into the elevator, all that stuff is you have to have a very well trained horse to do those things. But whoever was the animal person on that movie, they did a really good job at making sure that the horse did what it was supposed to be doing. So it was a beautiful horse too. I don't know if it was more than one horse, but it was a great scene. I thought that was a really exciting, awesome scene. And that one guy, the actor they got to play the lead terrorist guy. I mean, he was scary to me. I mean, I think I had like every time I saw him after that, I couldn't get him out of my mind that he was going to come and kill me
Yeah, he
or
looks like
kill
a
my
fucking
family or something.
he
He was
looks like a very
scary.
lethal person. I'll just say that.
And he
Uh,
looks so familiar. Was he in what other movies was he in? Because
Art
I
Malik
yeah,
plays in he's in True Lies. He was in The Living Daylights in 1987. He
uh-huh.
was in Wolfman with I can't think of a guy's name,
Yeah, I
but
remember that movie. I
2002
think that's
Wolfman.
another one I remember him being in because I love that movie too. Well, I didn't love it, but I watched it.
He was in Passage to India, which I've never heard of. Uh, Messiah Part 2, which is a TV miniseries.
Hmm.
Fakers, Holby City, Nina's Heavenly Delights, Franklin, Inspector Lewis. He played Sing in The Wolfman with let's see this guy here, Benicio del Toro. That's who
Yeah.
I'm thinking of.
That's I think that's the other movie I remember seeing him in because I like that movie. It was, but I love scary movies. Those are my very favorite. And we are gonna still do some scary movies, right? For
Yes,
October. Okay, good.
yes.
Excited about it.
He was also in a kid in King Arthur's Court from 1995. He played Lord Belasco,
Mm.
which I don't know if you remember that. There was another remake of a kid in King Arthur's Court, but he was in that in 95.
No,
And
I don't remember that one.
he's been all over. He's 70 years old now.
Oh, really?
What's going on?
He's how old?
70 now.
That actor that played the terrorist?
Yep.
Wow. Grant was his name.
Art Malik is his
Oh,
name. You're
Art.
talking about Grant Heslov played the character that was bouncing off with Gibb, Tom Arnold.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look at this list that mine's printed out, and it's not in order from what you would find on one of those other sites.
Okay.
Because I was just looking for stuff about Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold on this piece of paper, and that stuff popped up, so I printed it out. But
The
yeah, that was a good scene.
the first act ends basically with the hotel scene and Arnold asking the horse, "What type of cop are you? You let him get away." You know, and the part about the movie that I probably laughed the hardest at was in the elevator. The elderly couple, Harry, do something. That's a very fine animal you have there, sir.
Yeah, and then the horse wags its tail and it slaps the lady right in the face. So I thought that was a really good part too.
Hey, Wolf 10 Media, you have a good time, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing so much of that movie. He Wolf 10 Media almost, I would not say spam, but I would say he would, with accuracy, with volume, accuracy by volume, he put all the quotes of the movie in our chat.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I saw some of them.
yeah, and that horse was just that actually steals the episode, the 5 minutes that it's in the movie. The horse actually does steal the show for those 5 minutes because it does a really good job of performing and making you feel like this is a real animal. And just the scene in the elevator, and then the panic look in its eyes whenever it's backing up, pulling Arnold up with the rein. And
Yeah,
that that is the conclusion of Act One. And Wolfton Media says, coming from a kid who watched this movie like 20 times, I better be able to write all that stuff.
yeah. That horse was happy he didn't go over the edge of that building.
Yeah, he was. Second act starts up the next day. Harry Tasker is going to go visit his wife because he missed out on his birthday celebration,
Oh, that's
and
right.
he, that's the dog was licking through the bowl and getting the stuff off the spatula. The daughter's like, I don't really care. I told you I was right. Daddy's going to miss this, and so he goes to her job the next day, and right before he enters her cubicle, he hears his wife's name. You got a phone call from your mystery man.
Yeah, your
And
mystery man's online too.
yeah. And so the lady, and God, what was her name? The supporting actress that plays Jamie Lee Curtis's work buddy, she does such a damn good job.
Yeah,
And
she was adorable. I mean, you could tell that she was excited for her because she was finally getting some excitement in her life.
yeah,
Like a
Cassie
friend would be.
Yeah, her name is
Because
Cassie Chappell, and she's been in quite a bit of movies.
oh
She's still
yeah,
in
I've
movies
seen her in
today.
lots of movies. Yeah, she was very recognizable.
And she introduces the viewer to the fact that Helen is talking to Simon, and Simon is trying to play that he's a spy, he's a secret agent man, but he needs Helen to do stuff with him because he's been found out.
Yeah,
Oh my God, Bill Paxton for Act Two. Bill Paxton completely just he overacts so well.
he's. I thought he was excellent. He seemed so believable as a car salesman, with his own way thinking. His shit don't stink because he can get any woman he wants with a fake line. You know, I meet so many of those guys every week. The narcissists that think their shit don't stink,
Yeah.
and that they're God's gift to women. I meet them so many of them, but what's so funny is that he did such a good job being that person. You know, And I wrote down the stuff that he was saying in the car when he was showing in the, showing in the car. But before that happened is when Tom Arnold realizes it, because not Tom Arnold, but Arnold Schwarzenegger realizes it, and he gets that look on his face of total despair. Like his life is over. Everything that he gets to come home to every night that I was talking about earlier, that's boring. It's just a humdrum life. It's just quiet, and his wife is always there for him, and she has food cooked. The house is clean. She takes care of his kid. Everything a man could ever want, that works hard and it's a secret spy. Now it's gone. Like in a flash. He thinks his wife's having an affair, and he almost gets hit by a bus, and that's when Tom Arnold steps in, and the real Tom Arnold, that I think who he really is, comes out.
Yes.
And then when Tom goes, "What's the matter? What's going on?" and he says, Helen's having an affair," like that. And then Tom Arnold goes, "Welcome to the club, man," and hugs him. He's all excited and happy, and then he goes, "Nobody thinks it can happen to them the first time." And he's hugging him, and then he goes, "Stop cheering me up."
Stop cheering me up.
Yeah, he gets really pissed off. But and then he gets serious, and he says, "What did you expect, Harry? Helen's a flesh and blood woman, and you're never there. It was just a matter of time." And that, and it's sad to say, but it happens every day. It happens every day to men and women all over the world, that they feel they're not getting what they need at home, and they start looking elsewhere to fill the gaps. So, to me, that was a really good way of bringing in a second plot. You know what I mean? Because you had the one plot, they're trying to find out about what happened to those missiles, and they think they know, who has them, but now they got to figure out where they're at, that type of thing. And now you got a whole nother scenario coming in, because his whole life is changing, because he thinks his wife is gonna, doesn't love him anymore. And then he takes it a whole new route because of his job. He's going to use it to help him find out what's going on.
And I love that he's using his coworker after that to record lines onto a tape. And the guy that's saying these lines is like, "Who the hell wrote this shit? Did Harry write this?"
Yeah, he's French. He's got that French sexy accent to use to get her to do that, because he has to think of something, and he's trying to think of something to do, because he loves her. And that's what makes it even more adorable, is the fact that he really does love her. And he never thought he would be in this situation, just like none of us do. None of us ever think about stuff like that. We're so busy with our lives, paying our bills, taking care of our house, doing our laundry, cooking, going grocery shopping, raising our kids,
Doing
doing all
mental
those
victory
things,
laps.
that we don't realize that we're neglecting the one person that we took an oath with, saying that we would be there for him forever,
Yeah.
through thick and thin, through sickness and health. But we don't. But instead of the other one saying, "I'm lonely, I miss you, whatever type of thing," we don't. I mean, we don't do it enough. And if we do, they're not, it's not sinking in, or something, or it's just not meant to be. I mean, you can bend over backward and try to do certain things, but that doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah.
But it's the same in everyone's life. I don't care what country you're in, whether you're gay or straight, all relationships have something like this that could happen to it. Unless you, just like you said, if you don't water it, it's going to die. Got to take care of your garden.
Yes. So he gets things scheduled for Doris to take a evening trip over to this hotel, grab a note from the hotel staff. Excuse me, the hotel staff. He gets a note from them, and then she goes up
Well,
to the hotel room.
she hasn't done that yet because
No.
we haven't even talked about them breaking in on her supposedly going to run away to Paris with.
Oh, that's right.
Remember,
Oh
he's
my
a
God.
yeah, that
Yep.
whole scene, when he's in the car, he goes
Yeah.
to act like he's going to buy that car from the car salesman. But remember, they put a bug on her, or they follow her,
They
and
they
that's
they put a
when
bug on her. They put
they're
like 3 bugs on
listening
her, I
to
think.
her in there while she's at the lunch. She meets him for lunch a couple days later, and that
That's
he
right.
says the when he says he's taking credit for our moves. Remember?
Yep.
And then Tom Arnold says, "I'm starting to like this guy." And then Arnold gives him that stare like, "I'm going to tear you in half." He goes, "But we still got to kill him." That's a given. Remember that scene?
Yes.
God, that was so funny. That's when I thought that Tom Arnold did such a good job in all these scenes. Him and all the scenes with him and Arnold Schwarzenegger together, they played off each other so well, and it seemed so realistic and lifelike to me
It,
that
it
it drew me into their every scene they had together.
and that's the part of this movie that really just passes like my test. It seems like, you if you watch this film, Tom Arnold is a likable enough piece of shit that at the end of this movie, after it's all over, he continues doing things for the US government, saying horrible things, and telling people, don't worry, it's not that bad. You'll get used to being cheated on. And he'll say things like that tomorrow. And
Yeah.
he plays this role so convincingly, and it makes me wonder, it's like, what were the drugs he used for the movie making that he did? Because this character comes off very authentic.
I think so too.
And I've seen his other work. He's not that good.
I'm thinking he had an acting coach or something to prepare him for this, because I just don't see how someone could overnight, it seems like, from the TV show Roseanne, the small characters that he played in that, and then something like this, and be so believable and so good. And like this, I mean, he was so quick and to the point. So I
Yes.
don't know. It was just a phenomenal role for this guy. I mean, you know what I mean? He played it so well. But when he gets uh, Tom Arnold to bug their home phone and her cell phone, and he's like, we're gonna get in trouble, blah blah blah, and he's like, yeah, we do it 20 times a day, so do it, whatever. And
Hmm.
that's when he finds out he's a car salesman and stuff, and he goes to see the car, and that's when he puts him in the Corvette, and they're driving down the road, and the car salesman, they stop to eat and everything, and they're eating, and he's like, well, what do you do? I mean, how are you doing this? How do you get these women? And he goes, let's face it, Harry, the vet gets them wet. Okay. And then he says, just ask yourself, what do women want? You take these bored housewives married to the same guy for years. They're stuck in a rut and they need some release, a promise of adventure,
Yeah.
a hint of danger. Hold on, I got it written down. And then he
She came
says,
with notes, guys.
do what?
I was just saying to the class, she came with notes.
Oh, I sorry.
You always come
And
to these with notes, which I
yeah, and
love.
he says, I create that for them. He said, and then Arnold says, so basically you're lying your ass off this whole time. And then he says, um, and then he said, what are you, some kind of Boy Scout? So he goes, think of it as a playing a role, a fantasy. I mean, you got to work on their dreams, get them out of their daily suburban grind for a few hours. And Arnold says, what about their husbands? And he goes, dickless. Let's face it, if they took care of business, I would be out of business. You know what I mean? I just love this. This whole thing is just so good.
That entire exchange is gold.
Yeah, the whole thing. Paxton did such a good job. He was so good at it. And then he goes, so what are you working on? Who are you working on right now? And he goes, I always got a couple of on the hook, but there's this one right now. I got her panting like a dog. It's great. And he knows he's talking about his wife. And he goes, what does she do? And he goes, she's some kind of legal secretary or something, uptight and conservative. But oh, she could be so hot if she wanted to be. Okay, this is what he's saying about his wife. And I just love the looks on
pie
Arnold
scene.
Schwarzenegger's face this whole time. And that's what I'm saying. These two, this is such a good scene. And then Arnold says, but with you, she gets to be real hot. And he goes, red hot, her thighs steam. It's like he goes, it's like a dying plant. All it needs is a little water. Married to some boring jerk, he doesn't appreciate her. She's like all these babes. You get their pilot lit and they can suck start a leaf blower.
Yeah. I think
Holy
is that the point where Arnold just gives him the chop to the nose?
That's when he
And
punches him in the face and he's
yeah,
unconscious. It's
yeah, in
amazing.
his head he does
God,
that.
scene. I had to stop this scene like 10 times so I could write down these lines, but I had tears rolling down my face. I was laughing so hard because this scene is phenomenal. I mean, just this scene, I think, could win an Academy Award. I thought it was so good. It's so believable. It was so funny.
And that's the thing. This movie didn't win on any script writing merits whatsoever, but the script in this movie is probably the best script that Schwarzenegger had ever done.
I don't know, but this is my very favorite movie by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it has such a phenomenal cast in it. But after he wakes up from his fake unconsciousness, and then he's still talking, he goes, she has the most incredible body and a pair of titties that make you want to stand up and beg for buttermilk. And an ass like a 10-year-old boy. And that's when he gets punched in the
Yep.
face. Okay, and he knocks him out. And as you can hear, I'm just reading it, but just thinking about it was just so funny. And I don't know. But then you go where he gets to do the whole, he sets up the whole thing so that he can find out whether or not she still loves him or not, because he's heartbroken. His life is over. I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell he's at work and he's just like a slug, just walking around like he doesn't even want to live. And I love this. I mean, because you hear so many sob stories every day in our lives about how the woman's cheated on, the husband cheated on her, the husband cheated on her, it's constant, like a broken record.
Yeah.
But this gives you the opportunity to see how devastating it can be for a man who loves his wife and he's just doing his job, working hard, trying to be, a good dad, a good husband, blah, 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 to the best of his ability, and to get blindsided basically and find out that the woman, everything his life revolves around is gone in his eyes. He thinks that it's over. She's not in love with me anymore. She's seeing someone else. And Tom Arnold's not helping because he's like, she just wants to bathe the guy for a little while. Everything he says, and when he shows up with the next printed out phone calls and he's sitting in the car, and you can see Tom Arnold kind of looking around like he doesn't want to be there at all, and he's going through the papers. He goes, where's number 19?
Where's page 10? It goes from 9 to 11.
Yeah, or 9 to 11 or whatever it was. And he goes, and he punches the window and it shatters, and he says, give me the page. And he takes it out of his pocket to read it. So the whole thing, the dramaticness of it, the damaged goods that he is now, that he was this just shows you that he goes from a top-notch, number one best agent they had at this supposedly, agency or whatever, and now he's nothing because he's given up. All he can think about is his wife, and that his wife is, and who's this guy? I got to get this guy, and I got to find out if she loves me. I just loved it. The whole character arc for Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, because I'm going on and on and on about Tom Arnold, but now when you go for a circle around and you find out how good Arnold Schwarzenegger was able to play this character, you know, and make it believable and entertaining. And Jamie Lee Curtis's part, because she does the mousiness, like when they're in the trailer house and he's trying to make her feel like, you know, she's got to act like his woman, his wife, or whatever, to go to Paris with him. And he's trying to use that whole thing to get into her pants, and she's like all like, no, I can't do this, and she's like arguing with him because she realizes that she's bit off more than she can chew, and now she's out in the middle of nowhere with this loser, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. And the next thing you know, lights are going off, there's a helicopter, and the building's getting cut in half. You know, it's like all the terrible shit's hitting the fan, and she doesn't know what to do. So I just thought it was excellent. I thought the whole scene was hilarious, but believable and over the top, all at the same time.
When they rip the back of the trailer off and in comes the agents, Bill Paxton tries to get away, but he ends up between Jamie Lee Curtis's thighs. And
Yeah,
you can see the look on Schwarzenegger's face. He's got the baklava on, and he's just fucking pissed. He's looking at him like he's like, if there weren't other people around here, I'd turn this guy into a grease spot in this trailer. It fit perfectly.
And I know, and the part that Bill Paxton says, "Take her, take her."
Yeah,
'Cause he's such a
completely loses his
pussy.
resolve as a man with a hard on in the morning.
Oh my
Absolutely
God.
abandons his manhood.
I
Take
know.
her, take
This-
her.
I know he played such a good dweeb. I mean, this guy was just a piece of shit, and he did such a good job doing it. I swear. These all four of these actors. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Arnold, and Bill Paxton. I can't even tell you. I can't think of anyone else that could have played any of these four characters in this movie.
Yeah,
To
because
have
at
it
the time, each
be
of them was
this
at
good.
a peak.
The
And I mean,
interactions between them were so good.
Jamie Lee Curtis, whenever he gets home that one time and she's on the exercise bike trying to trim up a little bit,
Yeah.
and she's, look guilty as hell when he comes in with his little dad sweater on.
Yeah, and to get her purse.
Yeah.
That whole scene was so funny because they're both hiding shit from each other. Okay. And he'd been, but see, the thing is, he'd been hiding their whole marriage. You know, their whole marriage, he'd been hiding the fact that he was a spy. But now the tables are turned and he has to look at her knowing that she's lying to him. And he's offended, even though he's been doing it to her the whole time. So I just thought it was awesome. The whole concept of this interaction between these two characters to me was just spot on. They both kicked butt when it came to these few scenes after that, because I can't explain it, but it was just so good at how believable they were. And then him getting that and dumping it out the window to Tom Arnold standing out there in the pouring down rain. It was great. I just loved it. I couldn't stop laughing.
He puts his entire office through like an extra 10 or 20 hours work of man hours just for like the recording of the sex tape on the Walkman, the stuff of having to do the extra details and shuttle the purse to the office and put the trackers in there. I mean, they go through a lot of work to do that, and then the entire time they're long ago, Bruce had a girlfriend that was in social work. And while this movie is high on my list of rewatchable films, you can't watch this movie around somebody that does social work for a living, because the scenes where Schwarzenegger and her are playing off, they're doing one thing, trying to hide their hand the entire time in front of their spouse. That caused a lot of discussion in the household.
Yeah.
And it was really, like, I learned quickly, just talk to this movie with your guy friends, and to hear you, a lady, talking about this movie in such a glowing manner, it makes my heart smile because this movie is a great film. And I don't care about all the shit that Schwarzenegger does to her, Harry Tasker in The Office, the agency does to her whenever they capture her and they force her to talk about how they're going
I
to put
love
her to
that
work as
scene.
Doris. What?
I loved it because it played into everything that they needed for the movie,
Yeah.
because they caught her red-handed with this guy in a trailer. She doesn't know that he's not a spy. Okay. So
Hmm.
everything played out just right. And even when she goes to the hotel room, when they tell her you have to work for us or we're going to have to put you in a federal prison and you're going to never see your wife or your daughter and your husband again, that kind of thing, with the fake voices, she can't understand what they're saying or who they are. But when she takes the job and she goes and does it and she hits him over the head with the phone and everything and calls him a bastard and then kicks him, she still thinks that, she's being a spy.
Hmm.
And she thinks, and she's telling Harry, when she realizes it's him, she's telling him, Harry, be quiet, let me handle this. And he's dragging her out of the hotel room, one of the guys. So, and at this time, they're both thinking the other one, it's their fault. Okay.
Yep.
We know it's Harry's fault, but she thinks it's her fault. So it isn't until she's there at the island where the bomb is and stuff that she realizes that he was lying to her the whole time they were married, and the truth comes out. So,
And
but the whole thing is, it's to me, it's so human. The whole interaction between them two, with the spy stuff thrown in and the action and the guns going off and everything. It's the romance of a husband and wife that are madly in love, or and everything that they thought they had wasn't real because it was a fantasy, and it wasn't the basis of everything they had wasn't real, and they came to the realization of that. But even though all those things came out, they have a daughter together. Okay.
mhm.
And it makes them realize that it's worth it, even though they've been through all this shit. And they found out that the one lied to the other. Both of them lied to each other. That they still loved each other and they wanted each other for to and make it work. So it's a good character arc and it's reality. I mean, it happens every day. I don't know how anyone. I don't think there's a single person in the world, that can say that they didn't have someone in their family that's had a divorce or had an affair or something like that. A girlfriend cheated on me or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's something that everybody can relate to. And anyone that's sitting in there saying, that's terrible. I can't believe they're doing this, blah, 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 making fun of it. Or what they're not really making fun of. They're making fun of the situation that these two characters are in. They're not really making fun of the fact that someone's having an affair. If you take it out of context, well, sure, you can make it sound like anything you want. But I thought to me, it made me care about the characters even more, because it showed me um, that these two people are in love. Yes, one's been lying to the other one for all this time, but that was his job, and he was doing it to protect her, and he was doing it to protect his daughter, and blah blah blah. All the intricate stuff involved in it, and she did it for the reason that she said she did it. She said she needed to. When they interviewed her, that she said they asked her why she did it, and she said, "I needed to feel alive. I needed to do something outrageous, and it felt really good. I needed to be trusted. I felt like I wanted to be special. It's just that, that she needed something. She was missing out and she wanted to do something before her life was over,
And here we are
before
back
her
at
time
what,
ran out. You know what I mean?
yeah, and we're
So,
back at what Bill Paxton said. You get these bored housewives, and you give them a little excitement, and that completely keys into the movie.
yeah. And
Keys into that aspect of
that's why I thought they did such a good job at making it interactive because of the way he got women, and he preyed on these housewives by giving them something. Like he said, he goes, I just give it to them. I give them what they're asking for or what they're dying for, some excitement, because it can't go forever. He'll be, if he's doing it with these other women, sooner or later they're going to realize he's not really a spy, or he's going to move on to the next woman, and she's going to say, oh well, I had a hot fling, and I love my husband, but I don't want to cheat anymore, or whatever. I don't know what the aspects are, but what I'm saying is there's millions players like that in the world. It happens every day with the scammers on the internet. I mean, what do you call it? Catfishing or whatever, all this different stuff is.
You can make videos of just you giving advice to people on how to deal with scammers.
I do have a few videos of scamming videos about not giving your personal information to total strangers online. If you meet a guy, I got one on there that says if somebody contacts you on here, and they're really hot looking guy, and they got 2 first names, and then they ask you, hey, meet me on WhatsApp or whatever, or Google whatever it is. But I do that now because I absolutely cannot stand people that they're scammers. I think I wish there was an easier way for us to catch these people, because a person gets on the internet and they meet someone or they pretend to be somebody. And that's why I tell people, use 10i. I use 10i all the time. You get on there, you put your picture in there, and if that picture's been used in a scam, it'll pop up on here. Then you'll know whether or not you're getting ripped off. But still, even if it's not in there and it says 0, you don't know this person. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be 5 different people all taking turns, whatever time of day it is. You don't know who they are. And I said, so you got to be very careful about being personal, even though you might be really lonely. You might be in a really sad situation, and this person makes you feel good. That's great. But you sending them pictures of yourself, they're going to take that picture of you and use it on another person and scam
You're
them.
better off to go down to the $50 rub and tug and getting that
Go down to
taken
the
care of.
bar. Go down the street to a little pub, have a couple of glasses of wine, and meet a real person in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to the bowling alley and go to the bar in the bowling alley. You'll probably meet a higher clientele. But I got a couple guy friends that I talk to on Discord and some other places on Twitter, and I'm sending them snapshots. I'm like, look at this one. Here's a new one I got. I just got this one. I got that one. I get 3 or 4 every week. They're saying, hey, beautiful. And I'm like, look at me. I got cartoon eyes and glasses. And they're like, oh, you're so beautiful. I'm like, didn't you even see what I look like?
They don't care. They're just trying to scam shit out of you, huh?
They have no idea. They don't even pay attention. They all say the same thing almost every time. It's almost like a script.
It's a script. It's exactly what it is.
It is. Don't give people your information. If you can't meet them in person, then it's probably more likely that you shouldn't even, send them any information about you. And you give them your phone number, guess what? You can still charge stuff to people's phones.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that years ago. One of my friends gave her number to some guy. I don't think, I think it was back when the cell phones were those big clunky things still.
The suitcase phone.
Yeah, one of those, I don't know what they were called, like the one that Seinfeld used on his show. One of those phones, I think, because she used it in her car. It was a car phone or something. And she gave that number out, and she found out she was getting these charges to her phone bill. She was like, I don't know where these come from, because she wasn't even dating this guy anymore when she found out. And he was in jail and he was charging stuff to her phone bill to buy cigarettes and shit in jail or in prison or whatever it was. So, I don't know if you can still do that now, but that's what was happening to her and how she found out. So I'm just saying, you just can't trust people. Don't risk it. It's not worth it.
They get kidnapped. There's a nice little scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is dancing, and she's trying to look like a mousy little person, dancing, grinding against a bedpost, and trying to
Oh, that's
impress
right.
this
That
guy.
too. Hmm. Yeah,
And
because she was
then
supposed to be a hooker,
she's supposed
prostitute.
to be a hooker, just dance for this guy.
Hmm.
And then he tells her finally, he gets to the spot on the tape, lay down on the bed, close your eyes. And he starts playing with her with the rose.
And
And
then he kisses her. When he kissed
yeah,
her, when she went crazy and hit him over the head with a phone because she
not
thought it was
once,
a stranger.
twice. She hits him over the head with the phone multiple times and
Uh-huh.
then kicks him while he's down. And then he's like, Helen. And she's like, Harry? And that's when the doors burst open and they get kidnapped by Salim Aziz and they get taken to the Florida Keys.
That's right. Yes.
On their way down there, uh,
But they fly down there, remember, in the
they
plane.
fly down there and they bump into Juno Skinner on the plane. And Juno makes comment about the lipstick smeared all over Harry's face. This doesn't look good on you.
It's not your shade.
Yeah. And the two ladies start having this little cat fight, verbal cat fight sparring match.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite parts of the movie because you really get to see Tia Carrera in 1994 act like she has not acted on screen before. At least I
Yeah.
had. I had only seen her in the Wayne's World movie, and now this, and I'm like, I really like this chick because she has range.
Mm-hmm.
And they get down there and start asking Harry Tasker, "Hey, what is this?" I know what it is. It's a snow cone machine, and he gives them about 5 separate answers that are absolutely wrong. And then they threaten Helen's life, and he comes clean with it. And that's when Helen realizes that her husband is a spy, and he's been lying to her their entire marriage. And he's like, "What can I say? I'm a spy." And then she punches him. He trips over some of the lights, some of the material that's
Yeah.
there. They get him up, and then the Aziz starts being filmed as he's giving a grandstanding monologue about what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then the battery runs dead, and that was pretty much indicative of every fucking recording device you had in 1994. That looked like they were using like a 1992 piece to do that filming with when they're doing this. I remember that exact HUD. Whenever you're filming and you've got the low battery, it doesn't take long for it to go from you have a low battery to it's dead. It's gone.
Yeah, that's the scene where you see the tear running down the side of Jamie Lee Curtis's cheek when she realizes um, that her whole marriage was a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's when she gets devastated. She gets gut punched, basically. So, and he feels like shit, but he had to. He feels like I'll have to fix it later, because right now I'm trying to save our lives. That's what he's thinking. So it was a really good scene. That was a really, really intense scene to me.
Are we gonna die? Yep.
Yeah,
they give him some truth serum,
yeah, that's when he's had the tooth serum. That's right.
and then after about 20 minutes they come back to him and they start to do the interrogation, and Schwarzenegger's just rattling things off. You remember those handcuffs? Yes, I picked them. and,
Yep.
and then the violence starts, and Jamie Lee Curtis starts. You can see it in her eyes. Little Helen has never thought that Harry would ever be a violent man. And oh
Well, she
God,
just didn't realize um, his true potential.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So to me, it's like it opened her eyes to a whole new side of her husband that she never thought he was, because he hid it from her, and he's real good at it, apparently. Because they played together in the bedroom. They got a daughter.
yeah. They
So
had to do something in the bedroom together, and I'm just gonna say this from a guy's perspective. You're a big boy like Schwarzenegger. You have pecs for days. You have great big shoulders. You know how to lift things safely, and you have a little 100-pound woman like Jamie Lee Curtis. She's going to be a sexual pretzel. She's
That's right.
she's going to
She's gonna
be
be Gumby date.
she's going to be unable to do much except just accept the seed. And 9.5 months later, out comes little Dana, and
but
that's what's going to
but
happen.
that scene though, before they got kidnapped, where she's doing the dance and she's all like nervous, and mousy kind of acting, even though she's wearing
Yes,
some really sexy panties for somebody that's a mousy woman. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
those were real over the top, but that was real. She looked really good, and he tells her to take her. The French voice says, "Use your hands like your lover's hands over your body." So she starts really getting into it, and then he's watching, and they show he's got his hand over his face, and he's showing his eyes, and they got the little highlight, over his eyes, so it brightens it up. And
hmm
and then when she licked the bedpost and he drops it, he
yeah.
drops
He
the tape.
drops the
I
Walkman right
just thought
there.
that scene was so good, and she did a really good job at portraying someone that is starting to like get feel sexy and get into her role as a spy role, like she was really getting into it. But she was still nervous, but she liked that scene, and it was just really a good scene. So we can
Yes,
get back to the thing now when he gives her that gun, that Uzi, to
yeah.
protect herself.
Once again, Bruce complains about bang trigger placement and about bang finger placement on these things. But Jamie Lee Curtis plays it completely well, and the props department was able to get the gun to fire at the right angle to where it would be convincing to where, okay, well, it fired another 4 times, it fired another 3 times. Okay, scratch two more tangos, and then tumbles down a few more steps, and it sprays another burst and gets another couple guys. It's like the greatest mistake shot in history. And after that Uzi, like that, they should have kept that Uzi.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like there's a couple parts in this movie where I thought things like that wouldn't really happen. The scene in the interrogation booth with poor Helen versus Gib and Harry when they're
Yeah.
asking her things and she's bashing the glass. She had that glass spider web really well. I'm pretty certain every time I've ever pushed a woman to violence, like they wouldn't have stopped at the spider webbing. They would have wanted to go through the glass and see who the hell's putting them through hell. And that part there, and then the fact they just left the Uzi there. They didn't pick it up and try to find ammo for it from one of the other tangos. That part right there was like, wait, that thing just killed like 7 bad guys. Go get that gun.
Yeah.
We might need that again.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really smart move when they decided to do that whole scene in slow motion,
Yes.
because I think that was the only scene in the whole movie that was in slow motion.
Nope. The horse. The
Oh,
horse
that's
at
right.
the hotel.
Okay, yeah, that one part when the horse was running to jump, or to see if it would jump. But
Yes.
if it pounding, it was going down the step and shooting the bullets out, and she's making all her expressions, and all, cringing and not knowing what to do. I,
Yeah.
I thought that was a very good scene. I liked it.
They really like this is probably James Cameron's best directed film. It's not my favorite film he ever did. That's reserved for either Terminator 2 or Aliens, and I've never figured that out. But this is the movie that I thought he was in his top form. Everybody else will say probably Titanic, but I can't even watch Titanic without laughing. I'm sorry.
I really didn't like Titanic. Hate to say that, but
I like Titanic. I've been kicked out of the theaters twice for that movie. When the guy fell off the aft of the ship and his knees tagged the propeller,
yeah.
the propeller goes gong. I can't help it. I can't help it. I started coming out with a 70 decibel laugh. I think it's
Oh,
great. I probably would have laughed like that had I been freezing in the ocean. Oh, look, Bob just tagged the propeller on his way down. It makes the numbness in my legs so much better.
that's awful.
He probably broke his kneecap there. Oh, I bet you that hurts, Bob. I hope you float to your death very quickly.
Well,
I hope the ice
is it
hits you really
chumming
bad.
the water for the sharks?
There are no, the sharks wouldn't be there. That's far too cold, I think. That
Oh,
would be far too cold to be playing around in the water there. Um, I just that scene with the Uzi is like they didn't go get the Uzi after it had done spent every last bullet out of the magazine. Go grab the Uzi. It just killed 7 bad guys. that should be a memoir.
well, you got to
A
also remember that his character was still on the pentothal drug,
yes,
so he wasn't really thinking clearly. He was looking at. He was just amazed that his wife took out all those guys.
yeah,
You know, so even though she didn't really do it, she just dropped the weapon and it did it for her. But it's a miracle she didn't get shot because, it was pointed right up at her when it was going down the
yeah.
steps.
Like 3 times it was aimed right at her. Not a single bullet gets discharged. Finally, she gets out of the way, so it sprays where she was standing. But that's that is a good scene. That's a really a well directed scene aimed to get the audience participation up. Because when I watched that on ship, all of us guys were watching that and we're like, "What the hell?" And one of them ran back to radio to rewind the tape because they sent us all these movies on tape. We didn't have discs at the time, and we watched that scene again. The guys in radio were eating popcorn, watching it. Wait, what? We got to watch this again? Yeah, they want to watch it in the cafeteria again. That was funny as hell. Okay, fine. And it was one of those moments where the props department, the special effects department, the director of photography, everything gelled together really well. And I really like that scene. I shouldn't, but I do. And then
Yeah, I thought
finally,
it was good. I thought it was a very good scene too,
the
especially because of the slow motion and watching the gun going down and seeing her reacting um, in slow motion, like, oh, her face changing as the gun's going off, not knowing what she's supposed to be doing.
yeah,
And I thought she did it very believable too. So it was
she
good.
is very good at playing a domesticated housewife in this movie. She does this transition towards the end of the film really well, but in this part of the film, in the second act, where she's still Helen Traster and she's not used to seeing her husband slaughter people with his bare hands, gun them down. He sets some diesel fuel alight and has a flamethrower for about 30 feet, and that takes
Oh
out some
yeah,
light.
that I remember that. That was super, super awesome. That was the biggest flamethrower I've ever seen in my life.
One of these days, I'm going to be on my property and I'm going to have my work truck with me and I'm going to do an experiment with flaming poo. That's all I'm going to say. If you hear of me dying in a septic truck accident, that's what happens, guys. Bruce used a flare and he's going to try to blow septic out of the hose and see if he has a poop flamethrower. If I end up dying in that event, you know what happened. I'm just telling you all right now, all 6 of you in my YouTube chat and all 3 of you at the other affiliate we have. Um, I figure I should say that, but I want to do this experiment really bad, and I need a MythBuster is what I need. I need somebody from a stunts department to work with me on this. It'll cost probably about $20,000, but I want to do this one of these days. That flamethrower scene is what gets the attention of Aziz, and he grabs the little disposable bazooka, is the best way I could say it, the RPG that's got the disposable stock, and he triggers that and sends that into the fuel tank. And at that point, Helen thinks that Harry dies.
Yeah. I mean,
And
everybody did until you see him swimming, but
yeah,
she can't see him swimming like we
yeah,
can.
she's only about 150, 200 feet away, has a bad vantage point. She doesn't understand what's going on, and then she gets taken by gunpoint. Tia Carrera hauls her off, and Tia Carrera and her have some unresolved business to take care of in the limo. And then the guys, they've buried the gun, or they've buried the bomb. They've got it triggered for a certain period of time, and Arnold somehow manages to make it back to get a helo ride out of there. No, wait. Gib and them arrive, and Arnold's there after everybody else has left with their trucks, and they're going up the Florida Keys towards the mainland. And Gib gets told by Arnold, "Hey, we only have this much time. We got to go." And they took Helen. And then you have the scenes shift over to Juno Skinner and Helen in the limo, and they're talking. And at that point, Helen starts to fight back, and that's where you see the dawn or the beginning of Helen's transformation from being a mousy little housewife to being an angry individual, channeling all this anger after being lied to for 2 decades. That
Yeah.
my husband is a copier salesman. No, he's not. He's a spy, and he has life-altering skills with his hands, and he knows firearms like nobody's business. I married Rambo.
Yeah, I married Rambo.
And so, her and Juno get in this really good cat fight. They first thing they do is they cap the driver.
Yeah,
That's
but she also thinks her husband's dead too, doesn't she?
mm-hmm.
So she doesn't have anything to, any reason not to fight back.
Yeah, she's at her wits' end, and all she knows is that she's angry and she wants to fight. She
She just wants
hasn't fought yet.
revenge. She just wants revenge for them killing her husband, ruining her life. And she's a bitch, so she wants her dead.
The entire time up until this point, I really, Soy Jeremy, she, my bad. I had my chat was going off. Hey Bruce, you should bring my artwork. Yeah, Felix, put some of your artwork that you've shown before. Put it in my Discord, and show us the stuff you've shown me before, because I think they would like that. And it'll be in my Discord. Put it in the general tab if you could.
Yeah, I want to see it. I told her, I put it in the chat that I would like to see some of it.
So her and Juno have some really good back and forth on that fight. And then Helen sees the helicopter coming down. She doesn't know what's going on. She knows that there's been a problem on the bridge, but she doesn't really realize what's going on until she sees Harry hanging on to the rung of the helicopter, screaming at her, and she can't understand what he says. They're in open traffic. They have no idea what each other are saying. They're relying on what they can see with lip reading, and that's really not doing the job. So they do that.
She looks back and she sees the bridge is out, and she's yelling at him, "The bridge is out!"
Yeah, and he's saying the same thing, but he doesn't realize she sees this. He thinks she doesn't notice it yet. And they grab hands a couple of times. She loses her footing, and finally Juno Skinner comes to, only in enough time to see Helen disappear up at the top. and yeah, the car plummets into the ocean.
Yeah.
That scene right there, I thought, was really well done. And Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, is the lady dangling out of the helicopter. And the way that she's screaming after that, I think they filmed that intentionally to catch that adrenaline dump she was going through.
It was very realistic too. Even when she fell the first time and landed on top of the limo, it looked like it was her. There was one scene during the horse chase scene where a couple times it looked like it was someone besides Arnold Schwarzenegger, his stunt
Mhm.
double or somebody else, a flash there, because the CGI I'm sure wasn't as good back then. But that scene with her, and it was daylight, not even dark like the other scene with the horse. It looked very, very realistic because I tried to see and watch to see if I could tell the scenes where it wasn't her, but I couldn't tell. So I don't know if she did her own stunts or not, but
I think
it was very believable.
I think at least she hung on to Schwarzenegger, and they might have done a matte shot, but they filmed something right before that scene, and they had her adrenaline off the charts because that doesn't look like Jamie Lee Curtis when they've got the close up and she's screaming with exuberance. That doesn't
Yeah.
look like the Jamie Lee Curtis we've watched on Anything But Love or the Halloween movies. This is
Mhm.
not the same woman that many friends of mine became men to, wishing that they had a girlfriend like Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's been guiding guiding boys into manhood for
Yeah,
decades.
one of my favorite movies besides this one with Jamie Lee Curtis is called Terror Train.
Oh yeah,
It was really, really good. I thought she did a good job in that, and it was David Copperfield, I think, was in it.
yep.
It was a really good scary movie.
I like I think the movie that shocked me the most with her is the most recent one I saw, which is Everything Everywhere All at Once. She does not even look like herself. She's obviously an older lady.
Mhm.
Okay, she looks doughy. She looks like she's not touched a Nautilus equipment for since the movie True Lies. It looks like
Yeah.
she really let herself go, and I
Well,
didn't
everybody
realize that.
ages. Everybody gets
Again,
old
yeah, I
sooner or later.
understand that, and I'm not dealing well with it, but uh,
Mhm.
I'm just saying that if you guys watch that movie, the character that she plays in it, you won't recognize her as Jamie Lee Curtis at first.
And what's the
And
name of it?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Never heard of it. I'll have to look it up.
It's the new Michelle Yeoh movie that came out this last 6 months, and you're going to love it. You watch that film, you're gonna fucking love that movie. And Michelle Yeoh is like 55 or 60, and she is an action movie star because of
Yeah.
that film. It's that is a fantastic movie, and I just watched Maverick over the weekend, and I'm a believer. That's all I'm going to say. I believe that you can take a franchise, or you can turn a movie from the 1980s into a franchise by making a sequel 30 years later. And fuck, if Maverick isn't one of the best films I've seen since Endgame, no, not Endgame, Infinity War. It's really good.
Yeah, I
It's
told you it was a good movie. They did a great job, and I was really impressed with his acting at this time to be able to not be number 1. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. Well,
By
he
letting other people, lift other people up in the movie. I was worried. That's what I always felt like about, him as an actor, that he never could be shadowed by anyone else in any of his movies, but he did good in this one.
yeah, this is probably my favorite Tom Cruise film. And the only other one that I
I
like
was
that
impressed.
yeah, he did a movie called Minority Report back in
Yeah, I
2004.
liked it too.
Yeah, that's the other movie of his I'll watch again. But most of his other films I could pass up. Uh, After Juno dies, the Harriers start having fun with the bridge. They take the bridge out, and
Yeah.
the uh, the scene with the van teetering on the edge, and the guys in the van are like, "Oh, we're not dead yet. We're not dead yet." Oh, and you can hear them, praise Allah or whatever they're saying, and they think they're safe. They think they've lived, and then that damn pelican lands on the hood of the van, and you
Yes.
just watch it just nose down. It hits part of the pillar support and then right into the water.
That scene where they're, they're all like the Three Stooges in the back of the van, those three dum dums,
Yes.
and the two pull out that rocket launcher, and they put it on the shoulder, and the guy in front turns and looks and goes, oh, because he realizes that they're aiming the wrong direction.
No. They're aiming the right direction, but that RPG belches the fire out of the ass end for like 10 or
Oh,
15
it
feet.
looked like it was backward to me.
No, it isn't. They fired it properly, but it has an exhaust and it's got to go somewhere. That poor stooge
Okay.
catches a face full of burning owl to
That's
the
why he
face
was.
and
That's
gets
why he
knocked
had
out
a
the van.
charcoal face. Okay, that makes sense now because I
Yeah.
was wondering what happened because I thought it blew right through the front of the van.
No.
Okay, well I messed up.
That RPG is it. They That's a popular RPG, not in America, and if you go overseas, you'll see that a lot in various stores and in various locations. They use that, but you don't want to be anywhere near where the backblast could come back and cook your ass while you're trying to send it off to where you're going to. So you want to be standing in a relatively clear area and not have any of your compatriots standing behind you because they're going to get a face full of fire.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never held one of those things, and I've never been around one in person. So if somebody was aiming it
We'll,
the wrong direction, I wouldn't know.
we need to figure out how to win the lottery and spend the morning over at Uvalde for drive tanks. That's
Yeah, I
still
would
on my.
that website you were sent me to check out with all the cool stuff, and it was like, look, like it'd be a lot of fun. I'd get me some tactical clothes, be all
Yeah.
decked out and all that stuff with all the belts with the bullets and everything. That would be freaking fun. But I would shoot one of them things. I would love to have that on my shoulder and shoot something. That would be kick butt. I'd enjoy it. But someone would have to make sure I was holding it right because I wouldn't want to hurt anyone. That wouldn't be good.
Okay.
But that seems funny. Then when they save her and then later you see them at that place, they have to be what, 15 miles away because
Yes.
it's about to have a nuclear explosion go off. And that whole scene was very romantic. I just loved it.
Yeah. The only part about that I kind of wince at is the fact that they've all been exposed to a nuclear detonation. How many years just got shaved off your life at that point?
Well, I mean, what are they going to do? There's nothing they can do about it. They're
They
they're
couldn't do
there
shit.
and they're just have to deal with it. They're not blown up and they're not melted.
Yeah.
So, you dealt your cards and you have to take the deck and play the best hand you got with what you're given. And but I thought it was a good scene. And
Yes.
the whole thing with the Harrier where he runs over the police car and does all that stuff, I thought that was funny too.
That is a classic Harry Trasker maneuver.
I thought it was really, really good scene.
And Tom
And
Arnold.
the scene where we already passed that part, but when they raided the trailer park, the scene where she kicks Tom Arnold in the nuts
Yes.
at the end, and he's like, "Oh, walking real slow, son of a bitch," because he got kicked in the balls. I thought that was good, and I forgot to talk about it. Sorry.
He has so many moments in the ADR where the after they film the movie, they have ADR moments where you go into a booth and you record some lines and then they disguise it, try to make it sound like it happened on scene at a certain point. And Tom Arnold probably spent the better part of 2 hours doing ADR for this movie.
Yeah.
And he does a really good job. And the part where Harry's getting ready to take off with the Harrier, and here comes Gibb. Hey, Harry, you know that you haven't flown one of these in about 8 years, right? And Harry's just turning on various switches and toggles, and the turbine starts up, and Gibb can feel himself being, pulled off the ladder. He's like, "Oh, gotta go!" And he
Yeah, because he's
yammers
gonna get
back down
sucked
the
into
ladder.
the engine.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get caught in that, so he gets
Yeah.
off the ladder and prepares it, and then Arnold runs over a couple cop cars, ruins a light bar or two. There goes some shattered glass, and
Yeah, and
then
he's
he's
like, "You're
off.
gonna have to sign for that." That giant hair, like, "You can take it out of my paycheck." I thought that was a really good scene. There were some really good lines in this movie.
There, out of all the movies we've done, this movie is probably the one that most you could probably quote the most.
Mhm.
It has a lot of quotable lines all the way through it from start to finish. And the part where they tell Harry, listen, they've got a hostage, it's Dana.
Mhm.
Oh, don't worry, Harry. And they're trying to explain to Harry, hey, we got a guy on the inside. We got a guy on the inside. Don't worry. And Harry's not listening to that at all.
Nope, once he said Dana, it was over.
Yeah, he's off to go get his little girl. And he takes the Harrier and he takes it to downtown Miami. And they have one of the most interesting vehicle moments since probably 1989's Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. That's what I'm going to compare that final 10 minutes of True Lies to, because that scene with the Harrier jet is as good, I think, as a scene with Indiana Jones trying not to get rolled off with the tank, get, run over by the tank, trying not to get
Mhm.
smashed into the cliff by the tank. And that those two movies compare pretty favorably to each other. They're both just a blast to watch. And
Yeah, the part where the Harrier is, blowing out the windows
mhm,
on that one floor,
yes,
just straight across like that, it's just phenomenal. It just to be able to see a Harrier perform in that manner, I thought was just really, really cool.
they got a few
Sure, I
things
wasn't
right.
the only one. Do
Uh,
what?
they got a lot of things right with this movie. And one
Mhm.
thing is the Harrier is not a precision hover item. Whenever the Harrier's in the air, it's not sitting still.
Yeah.
It's bouncing around, and the pilot's trying to continuously play with the yoke and trying to make sure that he's not putting himself in a bad position, because
Mhm.
it's always bouncing. It's not riding the wind very elegantly. It's not.
Yeah.
So I thought they did that scene really well. And finally, Dana is seeing what's going on underneath the crane, and she is got the key to the detonator, and she's being pursued by Aziz, and he's promising her, listen, if you give me the key, I won't hurt you. And then Dana sees her dad flying this Harrier jet, which totally bakes her noodle.
Yeah. She was like, "Dad?" Like, she couldn't believe it. But the fact that she took the key in the first place, uh, was, really smart on her part, because, that's the only reason probably why she was still alive, because they really didn't need her. Once he had turned the key, it was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, basically, her taking that is the reason why she was still alive.
that's the only reason why she was probably still alive. After she took that key and she refused to give it back, yeah, that pissed him off to no
Because
end.
he coulda shot her, but that's why she kept holding it out like that when she said, "I'll drop it," and he'd say, "No, no, no, no," because he's thinking about it. He's like, that's all he wanted. Boy, he did a good job as a psycho, didn't he?
He did such a wonderful job as a
He
bad guy in
did.
this
He was
movie.
excellent. You gotta have a good evil person if you wanna make the good guys seem really good, and he did a good job at that.
Felix, I'll explain to her about this afterwards. I mean, you have your price in there, which is about the average price for a home in San Antonio. I get it,
Mhm.
and so I'm assuming that's the average price for a home where you live. Felix is trying to save money up so he can have a house. He's got a good skill, and he needs just to find buyers and such, and he'll bump into quite a few. I think he's got a great set of talents.
Right. right now it's it's the market's really good, I thought, for buying, everybody's wanting to buy a house right now.
It's a seller's market right now. I'll
Yeah,
say
it's a seller's
that.
market for sure. You're gonna pay a pretty penny for it though.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a good price there, 450,000 to max 480,000. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that he says he lives in Michigan. Wow. Okay. Um, Finally, Schwarzenegger is able to trigger off Salim after a really desperate moment where he jumps on the Harrier jet after she's clinging for life on the cockpit, and he's telling him, take this plane down. And something happens, Schwarzenegger's in control. He's got the yoke in his hands, and he
Yeah.
sends the terrorist off to dangle off the side of a sidewinder, and he lets it go and manages to take out Salim and get rid of the helicopter that's been giving him some grief.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool
And
that they just happened to be over there.
it looks like it was not coincidence. There's sometimes where you see a movie and they'll have like a bad guy or a nemesis die out of coincidence, but it looked like they were earnestly flying around that area, and he was tracking, or not tracking the whole time, but whenever he's trying to get Salim off of his feet and stop being such a threat, that was when his nose was pointed in the right direction after Salim found himself dangling off that damn missile. And
Yeah.
two solutions became available with one trigger pull, and I thought that was really damn good. I was very impressed with that. And even today, when I watch this, I watched the Harrier scene, and I'm like, man, this was so well done. And the James Cameron got his start with special effects for Roger Corman, and one of his more notable movies he did was a film called Battle Beyond the Stars. If you ever watch that movie, which I don't recommend everybody do that because you're probably not all going to enjoy it like I do,
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot of familiar things that are kind of they're little tricks that James Cameron does in a lot of his movies, and he did a very good job with the special effects of that film, and that was how he started afterwards. That was his leap up because he did such a good job. Corman recommended him, and I think he did something with Piranha Part 2, and then afterwards he got a chance to direct a movie with Schwarzenegger, which was the first Terminator film, and that had to happen. Initially they were supposed to have a window open to direct that, but Conan the Barbarian was being filmed, and so he had to wait for that to wrap up. But if you watch a lot of James Cameron films, this movie has a lot of his little tricks he does, just with a lot of chrome on them, because all the little things he's done, all the miniature work, a little of the CGI, the various camera director of photography hints he gave to the director of photography,
Yeah.
all that. This movie is, in my opinion, probably his best directed film. I would say out of all the James Cameron movies, this is not my favorite. That still probably is a toss up between Aliens or Terminator 2, but this movie stands really proudly in the number 3 spot. And I
Yeah.
really,
I
really,
really thought this was a very, very, very well done movie overall. I mean, everything, music, the script, um, the acting,
yeah,
the scenes. I mean, just it was just really, really hard to find bad stuff. Besides, the actors putting their finger on the trigger, things like that, the
yeah.
small things. But anything major to make a movie, this was very well done. So whatever crew he put together to do the different parts and pieces to put together to make the movie as a whole, he did a great job. I thought he did really, really good. But plus, the line that Arnold Schwarzenegger said when he shot that missile off, that was a good iconic line. So that was a good way to end that part of it. I thought it was very good. Overall, it was a great movie.
Yeah. Thank you
And
for.
the scene of them at the very end when they're at the dining room table again,
Mhm.
no longer a boring humdrum family sitting around the table. They're all interacting, playing the thumb wars.
Yes.
So the whole thing, the character arc for the whole family, every character in that family went full circle. And I just thought that was a great way to end the movie for me.
Yeah, this movie succeeds on a lot of levels. I could watch it again.
Yeah,
Um,
me too. I really, really enjoyed it. And now I would like to watch it on a big screen because I had to watch it on
a 17-inch screen. Yeah.
yeah, a smaller screen, not even the one I'm on right now on my new computer because it doesn't even have a thing where I can put a disc in it. You can only put like thumb drives and stuff in this one that I have. So I couldn't even play it on this with this really nice monitor that I have. So I had to watch it on my old one, and it wasn't as, you know, and I had to wear headphones, which I didn't really like. But to be able to sit and have popcorn and watch it on a big 70-something inch screen would have been really nice. But I
Uh,
didn't get that opportunity. But it is a good movie, especially that scene. I mean, I laughed and laughed and laughed at the a couple of scenes in the car and just the scene at the trailer house, all that different stuff, the funny comedy scenes with Bill Paxton. It was just so good. And I really, really enjoyed it. So I mean, I enjoyed the whole movie, but those scenes where I was laughing so hard was I needed it. I needed a good laugh, and I'm so thankful that I got to watch this movie because it was good.
hey Janet, I need to
Yep.
excuse myself for about 2 minutes. Gotta
Oh,
hurry at the door. I'm
okay.
gonna put you on full screen. If you could do me a favor and just talk and announce what movie we're watching.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to do is to pull out my movie that I would like to pick for next week. And I don't know if anybody out there's seen it, but after watching Tombstone, I really it gave me the itch to watch another Western. And so I'm going to pick the movie Bad Girls with Madeline Stowe, Mary Stuart Masterson, Drew Barrymore, and Addie McDowell. I think it's a good movie for us to watch. And I think you guys would enjoy it if you haven't seen it before. If you think you like girls, cowgirls, um, I think you'll be really happy with this one. I loved it before. Now that was years ago. So getting to watch it again, I've kind of found out that watching it years later is not always as good as it was the first time we watched it. But I'm hoping that Bruce will like it. I don't even know if you've seen it or not. Um, but I'm excited about it. I found it while I was digging around trying to find this movie to watch. Yeah, I got a box full of DVDs. And when Bruce told me he wanted to watch True Lies, I was like, I know I have that movie. So I was digging around and I was like, oh, I want to watch this one. So that's the movie I've chose for next week, and I hope that everybody will like it. But I really appreciate you guys coming and joining us and making us feel like we're worthy to be able to talk about something we enjoy, which is getting to watch a movie every week and to share our feelings about them. I really appreciate it. And we couldn't do it though. If no one wants to interact with us, then we won't have a reason to do it. So if you'll keep coming back, then we can keep doing this. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate it. And I know Bruce does. So thank you so much. But yeah, this movie was worth it. And I'm glad that you guys came to hang out with us and listen to us talk about it. True Lies was a a really good movie that Bruce picked, and I'm thankful that he did because I've enjoyed it watching it again.
It's one of those movies from '94 that I wanted to do a whole series on '94, and I think this is the last movie I'm going to talk about from that year because this is the third highest grossing film of that year. And the other two movies I really don't want to talk about. Lion King, I'm good. Uh, Forrest Gump, I've watched that movie a lot.
It was a good movie.
I have. I've watched that movie a lot. But
I'm trying to look and see what year this movie came out because I did not research it. So I was telling everyone that I found it while it came out in 1994. I'm so sorry.
what movie was it?
Bad Girls
Oh
with
God.
Drew
Okay.
Barrymore and Mary Stuart Masterson, Madeline Stowe, and Addie McDowell. I just have an itch for another Western, and I really enjoyed it when it came out. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be a disappointment, getting to watch a movie that I really liked. And I've seen it a couple times. I mean, I think I've seen it like 4 times since I saw it at the movies. So I don't know. I just have a thirst for it for some reason. And I really can't wait to watch it because when I found it in the box of DVDs, when I found True Lies, I was like, I really want to watch this again. So that was the movie I chose. And it's not gonna have, grenades and harriers and things like that. It's gonna be in the Wild West. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read some of the chat because I can't see what anybody's saying. Yes, I agree with soy-based Jeremy. She said, or they said, these are old works of art, Janet. So it'll be, I'll be drawing, should be drawing again soon. Good. I'm glad. I want to see it. I haven't been able to go over there and look at it yet because I'm not very good at going from the chat to another, um, you know, app while I'm trying to do this. But I will go look at your work.
He's a
Looking
very good
back.
artist. I would like it if he ever decides to do storyboard work, or if he ever manages to get in touch with people that do look for storyboard artists. I think he would do really well with that.
Well, all they have to do is go to like what is that website? The website where darn it, what is the name of it? It's not Angie's List, Craigslist.
Craigslist. Okay.
Yeah, go to Craigslist and put in that you're looking, what you're looking for, and see if you can find anything. I found all kinds of gigs and for writing. I mean, I don't draw pictures or anything like that, but I found writing gigs and stuff on there. So, and it looked like there's art, all kinds of things, commission for people wanting to commission people to do all kinds of things on there. So it can't hurt for you to look it up. You might find something very interesting. I'm trying to read. Sorry.
It's okay. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I know we had a few people who had other endeavors and such, and I'm not the best individual to talk about a movie sometimes because I get into the technical aspects instead of wanting to talk about the actual movie review itself. And I don't show a lot of photos of the movie because I've been hit on certain things. I will be looking at trying to do screen grabs later on as time goes on for this specific stream. I want to do that. But until that day, I do want to say I really appreciate everybody coming in to listen to me and Janet talk. Janet is a veteran of the industry, and she's got a lot of experience as far as being in front or behind cameras is concerned. And you can tell that if you look at her TikTok. She does a lot of work to make that thing sing. And I was really blessed to be able to have her come on to my channel on Monday nights and talk about movies for 2 hours or 2 hours plus. I think it's great.
I'm loving it. I mean, I'm getting to do something and get a perspective on things with movies that I never really had before. I mean, watching it as a just a customer, just a regular person, getting to see it and then talk about how it made me feel and what I enjoyed about it and what I didn't like about it is totally different than the working in a certain aspect of it. I mean, it's just nice to get to do it this way. I enjoy it, and I'm thankful that you asked me to do this with you. I'm very appreciative.
I'm looking forward to next week.
Have you seen the movie Bad Girls?
I have.
Okay, good.
Uh,
You don't have to say anything until next week. That's
sure.
fine.
Like, the one good thing about the Cowboy Way and tonight's movie was that there was a horse in both movies.
Yes, it
And
was.
I've
I love
noticed.
horses.
Yeah, I've noticed you really like horses. So
I had a horse. That's why, and I can't help it. I love riding horses. I love rodeo. I love all that stuff. It reminds me of when I was young and when I was able to do those things. Not everybody gets that opportunity. I wish everybody could
yeah,
get
horses
to go
are
and ride a
fun.
horse.
If you get a chance to be like when I was younger, I dated a few girls that were stable girls. They had their own horses at a rented stable, and you meet some of the people around that stable, some of the regulars that go there. And one of the guys that was there, he said to me one day, he's like, "Hey, I need you to help me. We're gonna grab a hold of this horse's head, and we're gonna break its spirit." What? So we both like approach this horse, and the horse rears up and gives him a clop to the jaw. So I'm like, I'm not gonna help break this horse's spirit. I'm good.
What does that mean
He
exactly?
he no. The guy got a face full of horseshoe.
I know, but what did he
He was
mean when he
he was
said he
trying to
wanted to
grab
break
the
his spirit?
horse, and he was going to like pretty much wrestle the horse and show the horse it wasn't boss.
Oh,
And
good for the
then
horse.
the horse had a different mindset, and it was not submissive. And I watched this horse just
Was this
rear
guy
up,
drinking?
and no, he wasn't drinking. He was just
Oh,
a regular like 19-year-old idiot.
yeah,
And
idiot for sure.
he gave this guy a face full of horseshoe at a high velocity and lots of weight, and the dude went to the ground. So I drag him out of the stall as Mary shuts the door, and we call the ambulance because like the guy's nose is into his cheek. It's just he looks bad, and I'm like, I don't ever want to come here again. No offense, sweetie. I like your horse. Your horse is cool with me. The other horses here are demon horses. I'm good.
Mhm. Yeah, it's horses are smart. I mean, they can tell when somebody's planning on doing something they're not supposed to be doing, I think.
Like I wasn't really into the idea of like we're gonna grab this horse and wrestle it to the ground. I'm like, that horse has 4 big legs. We should have done this when it was a pony.
Yeah, he should have done it with a Shetland horse.
Yeah. Why are we doing this to like a multi-100-pound animal? It's going to
Yeah,
hurt me.
I had a couple friends that would have a few drinks and then they would go and go to the area where the Shetland ponies were at. Most grown-ups don't ride them. I mean, the bigger ones, a grown man could ride one, but
Yeah.
you can hurt their back if you're too big.
Yeah.
You could hurt a horse's back. But I've seen a couple of men get on a Shetland thinking, "Oh, look at this little pussy," or whatever, making fun of it, and get the shit kicked out of them and kicked off and stomped on. So
Yeah.
horses don't take no shit.
I don't fuck with horses.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
They're
And plus, they're gentle. I mean, if you're good to them, they're usually pretty good. If you just pet them, brush them, or whatever, you're not there to choke them or beat them or hit them or,
No,
whatever some
never
dum-dum's going to do.
mind.
But not me. I love them. I think
As I
they're
live and breathe, I can still see it in my, like, I'm 12 foot away, and this guy's like, "Come on, let's go!" And he runs up, and I see the horse go, and it just gives him one clop to the face, and this
well, I'm
guy's
glad it
face.
wasn't you because I'm telling you, it can kill people. People have been killed by horses.
His nose shifted over a couple inches, and
Oh,
after the ambulance took him away, Mary was kind of like, he was really hoping that you would go with him, and I'm like, I don't want to come here again.
yeah, that's all cartilage,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not built for this sort of thing. I'm short. I'm not as strong as I want to be. I mean, I could pick her up because she's like 100 pounds. I could put her above my head. Woo! But
Yeah.
like, I this is a horse we're talking about, like 900 pounds of flesh, and it could sit on
Muscle.
you and break your hip.
Yeah, muscle too. A lot
Lots
of
of
muscle.
muscle. So I didn't go back there again, and things thankfully ended after that. But that was an interesting time of my life where I was going to a bar and just cycling through the staff and cycling through the people that went in and out of the bar, and I realized, like, this is not me. This I'm boring myself here. And then I got into gaming a lot more, and then eventually I got into this stuff here. I got some figures painted up yesterday. I got these
Yeah,
two
I think
Frost Giants.
I saw those two guys.
Then I got my little Skeletor.
He looks awesome. You did a good job with him.
Thanks. Got my three characters from hold on. My three characters from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I saw you painting him the night that we did the movie.
Yep. And I finally finished those guys up. Then I got this ogre, that little devil there, and a sheep in the background. But
Very
been working
good.
on some stuff pretty regular here. Not this coming Saturday, but 3 Saturdays from now, Janet, we're gonna have you. I'm gonna have some of the guys talk to you from the Discord server,
Okay.
and we'll see exactly what you want to do with the game. Appreciate you wanting to try it out.
Well, I promise I'll do the best I can. That's all I can do for you. I'm not gonna make up, "Oh, I'm awesome at it. I'm gonna kick ass," or whatever, because I have no idea.
You're gonna
But
be fine.
you just make sure tomorrow, whatever you send me, whatever I need to order so I can get it sent to me really fast, whatever
Will do.
dice I need. So
Awesome.
I'm excited about it.
For those of you that are still here, and I really appreciate that, we will be doing our movie of discussion next week on a girl, a guy, and a movie about Bad Girls, a 1994 movie with a lot of women. I
Good.
know Drew Barrymore is in
We
it,
need some
and
females for a while. Some estrogen going to town.
you have to watch Cobra after this.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But I couldn't help it. I found it in the box when I was looking for True Lies, and I looked for 3 days trying to find that movie because I knew I had it. But I've been moving stuff around because, I don't watch DVDs that much. I mostly do streaming, but I knew I had it and I didn't want to have to pay for it. So, I saw this movie and I was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna watch this one next week." So it's your fault that I had to dig around for
It's
the
all
other
right.
movie.
So we will see everybody here, same time, same channel, 7:30 next Monday night. Be ready to discuss Bad Girls.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you, chat, for being here. Everybody have a great evening and get some rest.
Night.